The more you struggle with self-control, the more it controls you. Let's start by exploring this paradox. You see, we often believe that struggling with self-control is a limitation holding us back. But what if I told you that's actually a self-fulfilling prophecy? The more you struggle with self-control, the more it controls you. Think about it. When we're trying to resist something, our minds focus even more on it. We become obsessed with not giving in, and that obsession is what ultimately leads to the behavior we're trying to avoid. When we think about self-control, we often view it as a one-way street, where willpower and discipline help us achieve our goals. However, there's a darker side to this coin. Research in overjustification theory reveals a counterintuitive phenomenon where excessive praise and reward for good behavior can actually decrease the motivation to perform that behavior in the future. This is exactly what happened in a famous study by psychologist Edward Deci, where children who were rewarded for drawing were less likely to draw voluntarily than those who were allowed to draw for the sake of enjoyment. In essence, the external validation undermined their intrinsic motivation, making them less inclined to engage in the activity without the promise of a reward. This example illustrates how our well-intentioned attempts to enhance self-control can paradoxically create new weaknesses and undermine our best intentions. We can inadvertently sabotage our progress by relying too heavily on external motivators, rather than cultivating a genuine interest in our goals. By recognizing this trap, we can begin to break free from the cycle of overjustification and develop a more sustainable approach to self-control. To break free from the self-control paradox, we need to acknowledge how our attempts to exert self-control can, in fact, create new weaknesses. This is often referred to as the self-perpetuating cycle of self-control. It's a vicious cycle where our efforts to impose self-control lead to increased stress, anxiety, and frustration, ultimately undermining our ability to make progress. Consider the example of a dieter who creates an overly restrictive meal plan, only to find themselves obsessing over the slightest deviations. The more they try to control their food choices, the more they become preoccupied with it. This not only undermines their self-control but also makes them more susceptible to cravings and impulsive decisions. To break this cycle, it's essential to adopt a more nuanced approach. This involves recognizing that self-control is not about rigidly adhering to rules or resisting temptation, but about cultivating a deeper understanding of yourself and your motivations. By acknowledging your vulnerabilities and being more compassionate with yourself, you can develop a more sustainable and effective approach to self-control. Start by identifying the areas where your self-control efforts may be perpetuating the cycle and work on building a more balanced, flexible, and realistic approach to achieving your goals. The more we learn about self-control, the more we realize that our attempts to exert control over ourselves can have unintended consequences. By creating new weaknesses and undermining our intentions, self-control can paradoxically become the very thing that controls us. This self-control paradox is a hard truth that we must confront if we want to truly break free from its grasp. In this video, we've explored how self-control can be both a powerful tool and a double-edged sword. By understanding the overjustification effect and recognizing the limitations of our self-control strategies, we can begin to see the world in a new light. We can start to let go of the need for perfect self-control and instead focus on progress, not perfection. As we strive for self-improvement, remember this: self-control is not about being in control, but about being willing to adapt and evolve in the face of uncertainty. By embracing this mindset, we can liberate ourselves from the self-control paradox and unlock our full potential.